Well, I mean, I guess we got enough out of this show. This shouldn't be that bad.
No,
I don't know.
there's actually quite a bit to talk about on
Yeah,
this show.
and not a whole lot. I don't really have a whole lot to take away from yesterday, other than like Dolph Ziggler called me over. I was just walking past him, and he goes, "Hey," and I just looked over and he pointed at me, and I walked over and he's like, "Nice shirt." I was wearing my Sheeta, Holy Sheeta shirt. Like, I wasn't even going to stop at his table. I was just walking by. I was more pissed off that I couldn't find a beer. I was that's what I was looking for. Like, I don't even think I saw the whole thing. I got so disgruntled that I couldn't find a place to sell that sold beer that I just left.
I assume that during the event, he wasn't billed as Dolph Ziggler.
Well, formerly known as,
Yeah, do the FKA.
he definitely had a big like a big sign, whatever, and everybody had pretty much the same backdrop, but he had like his little thing that just said, Nick Nemeth, formerly known as, and I was just like literally I was zoned in on trying to find a beer. I didn't stop at anybody's fucking table, and the people I felt the worst for were Craig Valentine and Jim Duggan, because a lot of like really I must have got there at a great time, because the only person that had any sort of a line was Danny Glover. Like, they had the barricades up to make a maze,
Mm-hmm.
but there was nobody in anybody's barricades. And as I'm walking, they had the wrestlers all on like one side, and I'm walking, and I just see Jim Duggan just sitting there, and Craig Valentine was asleep, and then at the end it was Nick Nemeth, and that's when I was like, because right next to Nick Nemeth was where they had the vending machines, the cul-de-sac you go into where the vending machines were, so I thought about that was like concessions, so I was
Mm-hmm.
gonna like go down that way, but when I walked past, and he called me, and I looked over, and he's like, "Hey man, nice shirt," and then I even said like, "Oh cool," I said, "What, no LaGreca?" He didn't like. I didn't even give a shit about him. I was asking about Dave LaGreca from Busted Open,
I
and then yeah,
Greg Valentine. I've never seen Greg Valentine. I've seen Greg Valentine at all conventions because Greg Valentine somehow makes like every convention, but I've never seen him smile.
no,
Never.
dude, I've been on shows with him where he sat there and looked comatose for hours before the match. Like, he just does that. He just sits there and just looks like he's dead, like for
In Flair's,
hours.
in Flair's book, they said they used to call him Turtle. Like that was his nickname because he was just slow and didn't move.
That's what he looked like yesterday. The only person that I popped for that was there yesterday was Pam Grier. She wasn't even announced.
I thought she was dead. I'm not even joking. I thought she was dead.
No,
Man.
I walked by, and she had like a bunch of people there. Like, she didn't even have like the barricades. Like I just saw a bunch of people like on her corner, and I walked by, and I saw the sign. And I said, "Pam Grier, no shit." She wasn't even advertised, because you had to buy your tickets to meet them beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like you could have just stood in line, and got it quick, anything, because you had to have a voucher to go even meet them. So that's why I couldn't meet anybody, because I wasn't meeting any of these fucking idiots. There's nobody there. I got marked out more on than most people did, because I wore a stupid wrestler shirt. But I ended up leaving there after about, I'm not even sure I saw the whole thing, because the vendors, they there was a lot of comic book people there. Um, they wanted like one guy wanted like $100, or like $100 for like the Andre Legends figure that you can get at Walmart for like $30. Like, they were there when I worked at Walmart, like the Legends figures. Like, I used to walk by that, Aaron, you probably know, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I walk by the aisle all the time and see which new figures were out, and they were like 28 to like $35, And the guy had them like marked up like, and I walked by and saw that it was autographed. And I'm like, there's no way it could be autographed. He died like 30 years before these came out. And I'm like, what's $100?
Those guys are banking on idiots being there.
Yeah.
Like the one that Nate and I used to go to that would go into Fort Wayne, they'd be like, oh, this is like official posters, and they'd say like it was like the WrestleMania 3 poster, you know, but it had like the WWE logo on it. We didn't have the
not
WWF
the WWF
logo on it.
the WWE logo. Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, so that's a legitimate official poster, huh?
The retro reprints.
Or me being a collector, I am a figure collector. And when I go to things and I see, like, for instance, my biggest thing to collect when I started collecting was, because I played with them when I was a kid, was all those WWF Hasbro figures, you know, from the early 90s.
The little ones?
Yeah. And so I'm really into those, and I know the prices of them and stuff, and I buy and sell them on eBay and et cetera, et cetera. But it's always funny to me when I go to one of those things and there's like a Hulk Hogan figure or something that I know the value on it's like $7. and they've got it priced at like $42. Some Mark's gonna buy the Hogan figure that is super common for like $42.
Now, I guess what they're banking on, man, but there were some fucking idiots there, dude. It was 104 degrees downtown, right? Outside. Like when I was leaving, like when I was looking for a place to get a beer. So I literally had to go to a hotel across the street or down the street. But while I was walking, it was so goddamn hot that I looked at my phone and it said it was 104 degrees. And while I was waiting for my ride to pick me up, I was standing next to a fully dressed Chewbacca. Like, he was like 8 feet tall, wearing a full hairy costume. And I'm thinking, like I had already called for my ride, so I was going to just tell him if I were still talking to him, I was like, yeah, I'm standing next to a Chewbacca. Like, he was completely fully dressed. I'm like, he was leaning over the rail. Like, he had to have been dying, right?
And you're like, Mr. Wookiee, could you please not leave till my ride gets here? You're my marker. You know, you're my.
I was so trying to get I was about to get a picture too. I was trying to sneak one in real quick because my ride had just pulled up, and I was gonna get a picture. And there was people there dressed as stormtroopers too. I'm thinking, you guys are idiots. What's up, pup? Big Papa Pup's in the house. Yeah, it was something else. Like, I told my mom it was only going to be like 2 hours because I was pretty much going to just zip through it. I mean, I wasn't stopping in anybody's comic books. I wasn't doing any of that. I was just there to kill time.
Mm-hmm.
I had nothing better to do yesterday, and my mom got me a free ticket. So I was like, all right, so I might as well just go there and kill time. But the whole entire time I was there, all I was doing was looking for a place to buy beer. So I literally walked outside, smoked a cigarette. I was talking to a dude like next to the guardrail. I smoked a cigarette with him, and then I looked, and I saw a sign that said Tennessean, and I asked somebody, I was like, "Is that a hotel?" And they said, "Yeah." And I was like, "There I go." see you later. and I asked somebody on the way out, since I had my bracelet on, I was like, "Can I come back?" And they were like, "Yeah." And then I looked at my clock, and I thought about it for a second. I was like, "Never mind."
I won't be back.
Yeah. No. So I went over to the hotel, the Tennessean, and they had an outside bar. Fucking $8 for a Bud Light. Dude. I was like, "You're fucking kidding me." Because the outside wasn't open yet. So I went into the hotel and I went up to the top floor to where the bar was. I sat there and I got a beer and he said $8. And I was like, "This no fucking way." So then when I drank a beer and I went downstairs and they were opening the outside bar up, that's why I was like, you know what? I got like another half an hour to kill before my ride gets here. So I ordered another one and she said $8. And I was like, this is for a Bud Light. I wanted to keep the bottle because it was aluminum. I was going to add it to my recycling. But they poured it in a cup for me. I was like, can I just keep the bottle for a souvenir or something?
I mean, yeah, I'm giving you $8. Can I keep the fucking bottle?
I talked to the bartender and gave her my number. Like they had some old person band was setting up, and like as soon as the first song came on, I heard Mustang Sally. I looked at my phone. I was just waiting for your ride will be here in like 3 minutes. So I'll just meet him outside. I'll just go outside the gates and wait for him because I don't need to hear Mustang Sally.
$8 beers and Mustang Sally.
Fuck yeah! You could ask him.
Why does every band like that play Mustang Sally?
Dude, it's like the easiest song to play. They played that. There's a band that I used to go. Well, not I didn't used to go see them. They used to play at a bar all the time at a local place in Maryland. That they would just show up everywhere. Like they would just show up at every bar and play. And it was called Mary Lou and the Untouchables. And Mary Lou was definitely untouchable. Like you didn't want to touch her. And they would always play that. And they would always play that song, You Can Leave Your Hat On.
That Tom Jones song.
I don't know. But it'd be 100 degrees and she had a big leather trench coat on and a big leather cowboy hat. That's a lot of leather that Mary Lou had on.
Well, if you're listening to this podcast, you've been listening for a few minutes, and if you want to listen to us review ECW from August the 6th, 1996, you can feel free to leave your hat on, Mustang Sally.
There's got to be some Mustang Sallys out there and some Mary Lou's that are probably untouchable. Unwantable.
We are back, and we are reviewing the episode of ECW from August the 6th, 1996. You've heard the boys here. Myself, Nate, Aaron, and Chad are here. And gentlemen, we're back after a couple of week layoff to review this episode of ECW TV. It is... I'm glad we're recording tonight and not tomorrow night, because apparently tomorrow night here in Ohio, we're supposed to get some really wicked weather. So... hopefully that doesn't get too bad, but it's supposed to be pretty crappy. But today, just hot, sticky, rainy. I'm sure your weather's about the same as ours in Tennessee, Chad.
Yeah, it's 100. and my dumb ass has been outside burning this goddamn bush that's been out. I've been burning it down for 2 weeks. Like it's so hot that the lighter don't even want to stay lit. I can't even get a flame to even burn this bitch down. And I'm out there looking like a tomato with my shirt off, dying out there. And of course I'm drinking. So I can't believe I didn't faint and fall into the fire. Yeah, it sucks here.
Yeah, I spent when I wasn't working, I spent the majority of the week this week trying to get the water in my pool under control. That's a pain in the ass.
Trying to keep it wet?
Trying to keep it blue and not green. It's like, I don't know. Having a pool it's on one hand, it's great. On the other hand, it's a complete and utter pain in the ass, especially for the person trying to maintain it. But
of course, it's why I'll never have a pool. I have friends that have them. I just call them to ask them what they're doing today and I hope they're going to invite me over.
Well, like I said, August 6th, 1996 is the episode of Hardcore TV we are reviewing this week. And I want to say before we start this show, holy shit, they packed a lot into 46 minutes in this show. This was a really good show. We start off with JT Smith coming to the ring. He's going to cut a promo, but of course we're in FBI era JT Smith now. So he says, I wrote down here, his promo is, "You came to see the big guy sing, huh?" And that was the promo from JT.
He's even more unintelligible to listen to now that he's trying to do the accent.
Yeah.
Well, that's what makes it so great. I was gonna save this for the end of the show, basically, when we talk about the overall. But this was a show that I'm mad that I was not at. Like, even if I didn't get used, like I was well gone by then. But I mean, I was like watching it, going, "Damn, I wish I was at that show." I know I would have been in Kiss because Donnie Allen made it.
Yeah, I wrote down here. JT Smith introduces us to, in quotations, Kiss, and of course, Kiss is Stevie, Meanie, Nova, and Don E. Allen dressed as Kiss.
I remember seeing this when it aired, and I remember watching it, going, "Oh my god, dude! I can't believe I'm not there." Because I think I was still in Tennessee when Memphis when this was airing, and I just watched it. I was like, I guarantee I would have been part of that if I was still there. I would have totally loved it, man. Been a part of that. I would have been Peter Criss easily because I was in the Blue World Order.
Aaron, what did you think of this?
I mean, it was entertaining and funny, and I mean, I think they were doing their like 87th retirement tour at this point, so it was relevant.
96. It was actually their first official retirement tour. Because I went to a bunch of shows that year because that was the last time they were going to play at all these shows. So I went to like 7 shows that summer, whatever, thinking like, oh yeah, this is the last time they're going to be here. But they played Madison Square Garden for like 11 days in a row. I think I went to 4 of them.
It wasn't until Dale Torborg that they decided to actually retire. They're like, all right, that's enough.
Well, the cool thing about going to the Garden shows were because they played so many shows in a row that so many people went the same nights that they did change up the set list a little bit, which was cool. It was basically the same set list, but there was like 3 songs that they change up like every night, which I was like, because I went there with Axel, who's on this show, by the way.
Yeah.
And Jeff and a couple other jabrones. But yeah, that was a good tour. But this was funny though. I love this. I love this.
The Sandman comes out as Stevie and crew are doing their Kiss act, and he canes the shit out of each and every. Canes the shit out of each and every one of them.
Did you see JT when he came out and started caning those guys, and how he just kind of casually tried to walk out of the ring like Sandman wasn't gonna notice him?
Oh, okay, all right. I didn't.
Like he didn't run. He didn't run or jump or
anything.
anything.
Caned at that point. Okay, I thought he got
did.
caned, and he was trying to like do that bump where he kind of go out of the ring, and so he wouldn't get it again. But he didn't get it. He didn't get it at all.
Yeah, but before he even got it, like he was just casually trying to. He's like, "Oh, well, I'm leaving," and the Sandman was like, "Nah."
That's what I was gonna say. JT says, "Arrivederci."
Oh, I'm so glad you caught that because I must have had my head turned or something because I thought he had gotten it already. He was like, I'm done with this one. But yeah, you're right. He was trying to like sneak out of there. But Sandman, he didn't give a shit. He was laying them in.
Man, sometimes the way he swings that cane, like sometimes he does it in a controlled way, and then there's other times like this where he is just whacking away with that fucking thing. He doesn't care who he hits or where it strikes them or anything.
Well, I mean, let's look at it. Put it on the meter. Is he going to hit Steve Williams like that?
Fuck no.
Is he going to hit Donnie Allen like that?
Absolutely, yes.
There you go.
So I know we've talked about the chairs before. I don't know if have we talked about the cane before. Have I asked you, is there a good way to take a cane shot?
No.
Does it?
It fucking hurts. It doesn't hurt in the way that the cane is supposed to hurt, because they had them slits in them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's supposed to hurt, because when they swing it, the cane's supposed to come loose enough that when it hits your skin, that when you pull it off, your skin gets caught in the slits. But Sandman has like 3 pieces of tape around in 3 spots on the cane, at the top, the middle, and at the bottom. So it doesn't open up. It's like you hit with a broomstick, basically. That's the kind of hurt that it is. It ain't the kind of hurt that it would be if it didn't have the tape on it. But it's like just getting hit with a broomstick is all that it is. It does hurt. And getting hit in the face is the worst part.
Oh man, I bet. God, that would suck.
I got to find that. I have it. I got to find it where he hit me like so many times. He beat me up so bad with that stupid cane one night, and then I still had to take one more, like from Mikey, and Sandman had already hit me in the head a couple times, and I was laying in the corner, and I didn't know how Mikey was going to hit me. I didn't really think about it. It wasn't that, but I knew I had to take one more shot. And I got up, and sure enough, Mikey hit me right between the eyes with that stupid cane. I rolled out, and that's when I was like, all right, that's enough of that. Because I was only agreeing to take one from Mikey, so that's all that was going to be anyway.
Well, after the caning chaos, Raven comes to the ring with Sandman's family in tow, and his toes are wrapped up on one foot.
Got the gout again.
He's still fighting that gout, huh?
Still fighting that gout. Sandman challenges Raven, but Stevie attacks Sandman from behind. And then Raven canes Sandman, and when it appears that he is caned in the eye. And I'll talk about it later. There's something I appreciate later on in the show that Raven does. But this whole thing was a good start to the show. A lot of chaos. This is how you want to start a show, because if I'm watching this at home in 1996 and it starts off with all this chaos and this entertaining shit at the beginning, I'm not going to want to change the channel.
No, pretty much not. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if that's how the show probably started for real then, right? Or maybe not the actual whole show, but the second hour of the show probably.
Right, the meat of the show, yes.
Yeah, after they had already gotten a couple of the prelims out of the way, and if I would have been there, chokeslam kind of thing. But yeah, that was probably like where they first started doing shit. Like that was meaningful. It was good though.
I agree. Aaron, what did you think of the whole resolution here? I know we're getting more of it later on in the show. Spoiler alert, it was almost 30 years ago. No big deal, but.
Well, like I said, I enjoyed it, and it was chaos, but it made sense, and it all worked and flowed good together.
Up next, we get a match between Axel Rotten and Devon Dudley. Yeah, the Dudleys are back on TV after a few week hiatus of not seeing them. The Dudley family drama.
Classic Axel. That's all I can say about Axel in this situation.
Sorry, I'm trying to read my own terrible handwriting. Somebody else.
He liked working with Devon.
Oh, I mean, you could tell watching them work. The little you got to see them work here, you could tell that they enjoyed working together. They were solid as opponents here.
No, they ended up teaming up, right?
Yeah. In the end, by the end of the segment, they're actually on the same side of the story.
No, I'm talking about later on in ECW.
Oh, did they?
This is like, yeah, I think they teamed for a little bit, and this is them setting it up. Remember, because he ends up leaving with them.
Right. Yeah.
Because they had to have another guy to have Devon team with to fight the Dudleys for a little bit, so.
And Devon's come such a long way, man, considering how long he had only been in the business, too. He had only been in the business since then, since the Dudleys. Like, that was it for Devon. That was his first ever stuff.
Right.
And he looked like he'd been working for years.
Okay,
my skills were good.
I finally interpreted. I seriously, my handwriting in this segment right here is terrible. Maybe I was drunk. I don't know. Anyway, I finally interpreted my own handwriting. Devon Dudley starts the match with a chair in his hand. The referee and Axel are trying to convince him to get rid of the chairs so the guys can have a match. Eventually, Axel gets fed up, gets a chair of his own. So then we get the dueling chairs. And the crowd is into it. The crowd's enjoying it. Devon's effective as a heel here, even though I guess at this point he's established. He's been around long enough where the fans are into his heel gimmick, and they like Bubba, so that makes them automatically not like Devon,
They're all still pissed off about the car incident.
Some of them like Bubba. This is the night the fans had that gigantic sign that said "Bubba must die," and they had to like crop it out.
Oh, is that who the name was? Because all it said on my screen was "die."
Yeah, I heard that, like, obviously I wasn't there, but they brought that sign and they were still trying to get Bubba over. So like they had to do like a lot more editing than what they usually do and make that like try to crop that shit out of there because they didn't want a big sign that said Bubba must die or whatever.
Now that you mentioned that, I think I do remember Brian last talking about that.
It was comical. It was comical how it aired. All I saw was a big, gigantic sheet that they had in the background, and the only letters that I saw were "die." I didn't even know that it had somebody else's name on it because I didn't realize it was blocked out.
And then they were doing the "Kill the Dudley" chant, like how the WWF fans used to do the "Kill the Clown." They were doing the "Kill the Dudley" chant. Like it was starting to get almost where they were starting to kind of turn on the comedic aspect of it. So I think Paulie's kind of on the right thinking with his fans. It's like it's time to try to make these guys a little more serious, which is coming up.
Yes, because Bubba does come out during this, and finally, after all the buildup of Devon being an asshole, he finally cracks Devon with a chair. But Devon retaliates by crack. I have down here the very portly, chubby, and sign guy Dudley. I don't know what to call them, but they're just these two portly gentlemen waddling around the ring, eating chair shots from Devon Dudley.
Chubby was the best one though. He barely even got in the ring. He was like halfway crawling through the ropes, and when they hit him, he just kind of like slovenly fell to the ring apron. Because I know that had to hurt too. And Sign Guy had to take two of them, didn't he?
Yeah, he ate two of them.
Sign Guy took 2 chair shots. Screw that.
Yeah, I don't know. I wrote down here the Sign Guy and I don't know why, but I was just laughing because they're just these little plump, furry guys getting waylaid. Like they don't fit in with their brothers. That's for sure. They're just I don't know. They're anyway.
Expendable Dudleys.
Yeah, expendable Dudleys. Imagine though, instead of Sign Guy and Chubby, what if we still had Dances with Dudley and Dudley here? That would be better, I think.
Well, it would have been, that would have been a different story because they were like legitimate Dudleys.
And honestly, having watched this stuff for the first time in however many years, because like I always say, ECW is probably the promotion that I've watched the least in my life over and over again. I really do think they missed the ball on Dudley. I think that they could have done more with him if he just stayed around. I think he would have been a more effective member. I really enjoyed what he did the brief time he was there.
Well, it's his fault. I mean, he was in Florida. I mean, if he would have just relocated, or they weren't going to fly Dudley in. They don't even have a major airport in Dudleyville. So they weren't going to fly in at Dudley. So I mean, if he would just move to Florida, like everybody, moved from Florida to Philly or the East Coast somewhere closer, he'd still have a job. But that's when the Dudleys were really good, like before they got comedic, I guess.
Yeah. So out of all this, Bubba and Devon have a big brawl with lots of chair shots and shit going on, and then we get the emergence of Big Dick Dudley, who comes out to the ring, and Devon wants nothing to do with him. And then this is where what Aaron was discussing earlier. We have Axel Rotten now, trying to relate to Devon, trying to be buddy up to Devon. And then Bubba Ray dives over the top rope onto Devon, and just bunches of insanity. And once again, a great segment.
With no Benny Hill music behind it. That's when you know they were getting taken seriously at this point. I still can't get over the fact that, like I said, this was Devon's first. Like, this is it. There was no independence for Devon before he became a Dudley. I mean, he went from wrestling school right to being a Dudley, and he became like the Dudley, like right from the get go. I don't think anybody's ever had that kind of like a start, right? I mean, off the top of my head, I don't think of anybody that came in right from wrestling school and had that kind of push.
Immediately he's good in the ring. He's great on the mic, and he fits in perfectly with the guys he's working with in this situation. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it's pretty much gold from the beginning for Devon.
That's good for him. I mean, look where he's at now. I mean, he definitely committed to the business when he got in it, right? I mean, He's got a lot of mouths to feed. He's got a lot of Dudleys to feed over there. He's got a shit ton of Dudleys.
That's the fact.
Baby Mama Dudley. Why wasn't there one of them?
Aaron, what did you think of this segment overall? We kind of didn't ask you there.
All right. I enjoyed it, and I liked the fact that Axel was assessing the situation and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go with this guy." You know, he seems to be the one beating the shit out of everybody. So instead of fighting him, I'll just team with him. And Devon jumping over the top was crazy. I mean, I enjoyed it.
It was cool, Joey, to notice the fact that the first chair that Axel picked up was a cheap one.
Yeah.
He said he got a plastic chair, and then he went back out and exchanged it for a steel one. I was like, that was cool of Joey to acknowledge that, because Axel took the steel chair and he hit it against the ring post to let everybody know that he didn't have a cheap chair. Because that would have been lame had Axel kept the cheap chair. Oh, the chairs hurt too.
Do you think he blindly grabbed a chair and didn't realize he grabbed a plastic chair? So then he went and got,
people were just handing, somebody handed it to him. So
that's what I'm saying. He probably grabbed it and was like, "Oh fuck, this ain't gonna work."
No, who's gonna give you a plastic chair?
It seems to me, and again, this is one of those questions where it's good to have someone who's actually worked, not us two schlubs. It seems to me like the worst, just visually and looking at it and thinking about it, it seems to me like the worst chair shot to take would be one of those wooden chairs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because they're heavy. They're like,
yeah,
40
that's
pounds.
what I'm saying. Like, whenever I see somebody get hit with one of those, I'm like, oof, shit.
And like nobody, like I've never seen anybody like swing like a wooden chair like they would swing another chair. Like, I don't give a shit, Sandman, anybody. Nobody's taking that chair if they're swinging that chair like it's a steel chair. Like the plastic ones hurt worse than the steel chair, because the plastic ones, they have the steel rivets, like the steel bars on the seat going long ways. Like to keep so you really, the plastic is like the only thing keeping you getting hit from the metal bars. Mm-hmm. At least when you get hit by the steel chair, you're getting hit by the metal seat part of it. If the guy hits you right, that's the best part of it. Like you could take that all day long, but you get them plastic chairs, they hurt, man. I mean, like, because that metal part behind it, that ain't going anywhere. That plastic ain't there to protect you.
I wouldn't want to get hit with one of them 1940s wooden chairs. Fuck that.
Yeah, give me a director's chair. Or one of them camping chairs that had the little cup holder on the side. Give me one of them chairs. All day.
Only chair somebody's
zero gravity chair to the head. Zero gravity chair to the head.
The only chair somebody's hitting me with is a Big Joe. You can hit me with one of those.
Oh, a beanbag?
Yeah. Oh, you can hit me with that. I'll sell it.
Well, they don't really hurt. They just wallop you. I got hit with that before. I know. I've had I had the Big Joe. I got hit with it. It doesn't hurt, but it just smacks your whole entire upper body. It's like getting like a football, like a linebacker hitting you.
a Big Joe.
I'll sell it. Kind of like how Owen used to sell getting hit with a bag of popcorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you nailed that one.
Well, our next segment, we continue the Raven Sandman saga, and this segment actually includes the only thing I didn't really care for in this episode, and it's not the whole segment. The whole segment, in and of itself, is fine. Raven comes to the ring. He's pretty much saying that he, with his foot being the way it is, he's not going to defend the title. And what I put down here that I liked was I did like that he brought up the fact that back in 1994, Sandman had faked an eye injury.
Right.
Acknowledging the past is good, because if you don't, then it looks like you're just
redoing it,
rehashing old shit. Yeah, and
he even mentioned the date.
Yeah, see, actually, you're right. He did.
It was like October 13th, 1994, or some shit. I was like, God damn, Raven knows his shit.
But he says he's not going to defend his title because of his foot. Todd Gordon comes out along with Stevie Richards, and Stevie tells him he's got great news. He won't have to defend his title because, and I mentioned this before, the last time they did whatever that shit was with that cage thing, because Stevie's going to defend the world title for him. I do not like substitute championship defenders. I do not like it. It's not just ECW. I don't like it anytime they did it. Like when they had Vader defend the U.S. title for Rick Rude or what. The champion should either defend or not defend their title. They shouldn't have someone else defend their title for them.
Well, when it's a heel, it's different in a way, because it could be conceived as cowardice.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to go the angle route with it, like, who knows what Raven's situation? Well, Raven still worked.
Right.
With that stupid gout and all that shit. That gout's beat him more than Tommy Dreamer did. They should have had a three-way with Tommy Dreamer, Raven, and the gout.
Oh my God, it's the gout.
Because Dreamer can't beat Raven, and Raven can't beat the gout.
Gout, let it all out.
There's your three-way dance right there.
Aaron, what say you? Am I like bitching about something that shouldn't be bitched about with the whole Stevie defending his title thing?
It's almost like you talked about, like with Vader defending for like Rick Rude. The reason it would happen in WCW all the time is because WCW would film like 8 weeks of fucking TV, and then by the time they got to the pay-per-view, somebody was either fired or hurt.
Fired.
Yeah.
What? So there was somebody. Was it the tag titles? Wasn't there like tag champions in WCW that they were on TV as champions, but in reality they were already gone? Like I don't remember. I think it was the tag titles, but
I'm trying to think who it would have been. Maybe.
And they do house shows where like the Steiners would have to come out with the belts even though they had already lost them because the TV show hadn't aired yet.
I hated that too.
So it was just so that's like kind of the WCW thing. But with this one, I think the reason they were doing it was because like the way Todd explained it was, I promised these people an ECW title match, so they're gonna get an ECW title match. You know what I mean? So I think it's kind of that aspect of it. Which whatever.
And plus Todd needed his TV time.
Yeah. I mean, instead of maybe doing that, maybe have it be like, and I get what you're saying, Nate, about like champion should be the champion or whatever. But if you're gonna have it be like Stevie's gonna defend the belt, then just make it like Raven's hurt, so Stevie gets to be his partner, and Raven can just stand on the corner for most of the match. But
was that in Georgia? Was it a Georgia angle where was it like Buzz Sawyer that lost like 3 belts? Or was it Mid-South or Georgia that were
It must have been Georgia because I've seen lots of Mid-South and I don't remember that, and I haven't seen near as much Georgia. So I'm assuming you're thinking of Georgia because I haven't watched a lot of Georgia.
Oh no, it was Mid-South because it was Dick Slater. It was when Dick Slater had like the North American title, and he was going to let Buzz Sawyer, I think, defend it for him, and Buzz Sawyer lost that title. But then Buzz Sawyer was like the TV champion or something, and then he ended up losing that title on the show. He lost like 3 belts, like on the one show. It was Mid-South.
I guess I don't remember that. Yeah, it's funny though.
Well, that's when everybody was leaving. Like Slater they were writing off Jake. They were writing off Slater.
So you're talking like 85. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I've seen a lot of Mid-South between like 81 and 84. And I haven't seen a lot after that. So yeah, you're probably right. It's probably shit I haven't seen. Speaking of shit I'd never seen before, I know we're getting off topic. We can get back to the show. I subscribe now to that the Savoldi library, and I've been watching Pafo's ICW.
Is that a paid subscription?
Yeah, it's like $6.99 a month. It's not too bad.
Still, that's too much.
But I've been watching Pafo ICW stuff that I've never seen before, and one of the funniest, most ludicrous, and there's so much funny, ludicrous shit in Pafo. But anyway,
yes, it is.
One of the most, I've never seen it. I didn't even know it ever happened. One of the funniest, most ludicrous angles ever. Ronnie Garvin stomps Ox Baker's dentures.
Okay, yeah.
And so Ox Baker now doesn't have his dentures, and he has to cut his promos with no teeth. And he's telling Ronnie, he's like, you owe me. He's like, you owe me of $1,652, Ronnie Garvin. But I was like, that's fucking amazing that he broke the dude's fucking teeth. That was so funny. God, I loved it.
ICW is so bad. It's one of my favorite promotions, actually, because it's that bad.
No, I'm loving it. What I'm getting to watch, because I have not honestly, other than some of the stuff that's on YouTube, I have not seen a lot of it, and there's quite a bit of it on there, and I am enjoying the fuck out of it.
Have you seen Onita yet?
No.
Oh, wait till you get to Onita. That's wretched.
You know who else must have liked that, Nate?
Who?
And they didn't do it. They didn't do it as a storyline, but he did it as a spot. Steve did that to Mick when Mick was doing the corporate mankind thing, and he was like, he'd wear his teeth, like he'd have his teeth in or whatever. Steve knocks him out of his mouth and stomps on him and kicks him out of the ring. Like it's like, yeah, so Steve probably like that.
I guess I didn't remember that.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was great because like Ox Baker's cutting the promo with no teeth in, so he's like. Oh man, and he had like it was like top and bottom dentures, so he had no fucking teeth.
He knew how much his dentures cost down to the dollar. The same way that Raven knew the exact date of when Sandman.
And I mean, the reality of the situation was Ox Baker told somebody I got new dentures, and somebody was like, wait, don't throw the old ones away. I got an idea, but that was good shit, man. I fucking popped for that. I did not see it coming, and I fucking popped for it. 50 years later, or 40 years later, or whatever.
That's one of the greatest things you're ever going to see when Onita gets there. It's so bad. It's really bad. It's ICW. It's perfect for ICW bad.
I can't wait.
Like what I like simple things like that, or realistic things like where you're talking about he knows the exact amount of money that his dentures cost him. He doesn't want any more, doesn't want any less.
You're right,
he just wants the exact cost of it. Or there's that
replace my teeth, Garvin.
Yeah. There's that time when Jimmy Hart in Memphis paid, like he said he was gonna give like Dutch Mantel like $5,000 to join the First Family or whatever. And then Dutch is like, okay, and he gives him the money, and then Dutch just walks away. But he's just like, I'm not joining you. Like he put the money in his pocket and it was like, see ya.
In the time where Austin Idol cashed the big check from the Battle Royal.
Yeah.
Like that shit's classic. That's some Todd Gordon shit right there.
But back to the ECW here. Now we've got this match for the ECW title. Stevie Richards and Sandman. And it has all the distractions, all the gimmicks, everything going on, obviously, with Raven and all the shit going on here. The best part about it, I think the best part about this match is the comedic aspect of the Blue Meanie trying to execute all these moves on Sandman, and ultimately he just executes them on Stevie. But Stevie's resilient and keeps kicking out anyway. But I did find that through the match.
Nobody even hits him. Joey even brings it up in commentary. Joey even brings it up in commentary that he thinks the Meanie and Nova are beating up Stevie more than the Sandman is.
But yeah, the match, like I said, that's why I said I didn't want to complain about the segment itself, because I know I don't like the title thing, but the promo prior is entertaining. I thought the match was really entertaining. Everything about it is entertaining. I just don't like the title aspect of it. But everything else here is really good.
And Raven with that loaded boot again.
Yes.
That's the best. Because he wasn't wearing it. He's banging it on the turnbuckle to load it up. I actually chuckled during that too. That's the only way you can load that boot up. Is you gotta bang it on something.
He got it from Shiki Baby.
Of course.
But yeah, Raven winds up pinning Sandman in this match, like Chad said, the loaded boot and all that. And Raven uses Sandman's kid as a distraction. Just good shit. And Aaron, I mean, you have any comments on this? As I feel like I'm monopolizing the conversation here.
No. Lori even loaded the boot when she hit Missy with it, and
everybody did.
He said Sandboy was out there. That's why I said like they should have just made it a handicap match because they were gonna have Raven pin him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it is what it is. It's a 30-year-old wrestling show in a bingo hall, so it is what it is.
And I mean, again, like I said, I was just nitpicking, and that was my only bitch about the thing. I'm just not a fan of that whole scenario, but this match was entertaining. The segment was entertaining. I can't take any points away, because this is one of the better episodes of ECW we've seen in a long old time.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where they were going. Like because I wasn't paying attention, like at the time. But I wasn't sure which direction they were going, so I didn't really know who was going to win. Like, I thought, how are they going to get? How because I think Raven still ends up with the belt somehow or whatever. And I'm like, how are they going to get all this done? And Raven's still going to be the champ, kind of thing. And I was like, all right, they pulled it off. I mean, yeah, it was cool. Yeah, I dug it.
So after that, of course, Raven retains his title. We have the match that we've been talking about for weeks here on the ECW program, the tag team title 4-way dance. It is the Eliminators against the Gangstas, against the Samoan Gangsta Party, against the Bruise Brothers. And I did not take a lot of notes because, again, with these four teams, first of all, I'm watching the match. Second, it's a lot of chaos. I know it started out with the Eliminators and the Bruise Brothers. How did the Samoan Gangsta Party wind up in handcuffs?
They got arrested last week.
They're still in handcuffs from last week. All right.
Well, no, that was a clip of them being in handcuffs because they had gotten like earlier in the episode, or like they said something happened earlier in the arena. They did something or whatever, but now they were back for the match and they didn't have the handcuffs.
All right, my question to you is, who lasted longer in ECW unsuspectingly, Jericho or the Bruise Brothers? Because just when we always think like Jericho was gone, he was there another week, and we've got to be coming up with the Bruise Brothers being gone, right? Because when they announced the 4-way, and I started like putting the teams together in my head, going, well, we already Axel. The Bruise Brothers are still there. I was like, God damn.
Well, I'll add another guy to that. We'll have a triple threat of who lasted longer than we thought they actually did. Let's put Hunter Q in there too. Like, don't forget that guy. We thought every week it was the end of Hunter Q. But he
Stevie
still kept
Wonderful.
showing up.
Yeah, I'm wondering how excuse me. It's got to be the last week for Jericho, or it's got to be the last week for Hunter Q. And I've been going through this process in my mind right now as we're going through ECW, as I keep expecting it to be the return of Jason. Because I know at some point Jason rears his ugly head again, obviously. And I keep expecting him to pop up every single week. He's going to be back soon, I think.
Oh, I don't even remember any of this. That couldn't have lasted long, right?
Well, once he does come back, Aaron, wasn't he with them till the end?
He's there till the end once he comes back.
He's with the Impact players and shit later, isn't he?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he hung on in there, man.
I guess
those
Paulie
pictures
forgave
paid
him for
off.
all that Grand Wizard chicanery.
Yeah, the pictures paid off.
Got his job back.
How do you like my Polaroids?
So that's what was in the envelope that Dusty had. I guess.
All right.
Holy
So,
shit.
let's see here. The Gangstas come out, of course, with a whole bunch, shit ton of weapons, and for the rest of the match, of course, we have to listen to the WWE version of the Gangstas music playing in the background the whole time.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I actually didn't write a note down, but I had it in the back of my head. It was like, just how lame.
I wrote down here literally Gangstas WWE music plays, and then I don't know how I spelled it, but I wrote down wow.
It's so bad, man. Because I was actually in my mind singing Natural Born Killers to it, like, because I couldn't get it out of my head, like thinking these people are going crazy, but there's no way they're going crazy to this stupid song that's just playing in the background. Like, could you imagine if that was their song? Like, God, things may have went a whole different direction.
I was gonna say, talk about an aura killer.
Dude, that song, man, it's just so bad. I expected them to do the Kid and Play spot where they did the foot dance thing, like that. Darn it, because it doesn't make New Jack and Mustafa nowhere near menacing. Listening to that goofy ass crisscross.
Ghetto.
Yeah.
Ghetto.
It's hard to make them look menacing when Joey Styles is talking about how New Jack is busted open and they're doing all this crazy shit, and you just hear stupid crisscross in the back. It takes away from it. Somebody at WWE has got to get this right and do something about that music.
New Jack is the miggity Mac Daddy.
Dude, it's so wiggity whack.
Aaron,
the Samoan pajama team is still around.
Aaron, do you have detailed notes on this? Because I don't have much detail written down other than the finish.
All I got is who eliminated who. You can't take notes during these fucking things.
Sometimes I feel bad because I don't feel like I'm doing the job. But goddamn.
If you paid me,
well, it's hard. It's hard when you have 8 guys that are just brawling. Like, what are you gonna write down? You know, I mean, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? If I wrote down like a big 4-way dance, brawl breaks out. That's what happens. I mean, except for a couple of elimination spots, which that's what the eliminators, like when Joey Styles, I was going to ask you if you guys agree too. When Joey Styles says that the eliminators were the best tag team in the world at that time, do you think they were?
1996, August. Probably. I mean, there are teams that I might be a little bit more of a fan of, but overall, I'd say match quality and what they were doing. Yeah, like the Eliminators are. I'm probably a bigger fan of Owen Hart and the British Bulldog as a team, but the Eliminators are honestly probably a better team. You know.
Well, I'm putting in it their body of work, because not only were they doing ECW, they were also doing War in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and they were probably doing Indies too, other probably Mexico, but they were in Japan as the Eliminators as well. So they probably were, whether it was for a week, 2 weeks, a month, or a season, they probably were the best tag team like in the world.
And if you go off because if you go off like what you're saying about like going everywhere and the quality of people they're working, because Rick and Scott were back in WCW at this point, so they were active, but the Eliminators had much better in-ring
Body of work.
partners. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, at this time, you could probably say that.
All right, so that was pretty much a fair assessment by saying, because I was trying to think about who was around in 1996 that were even in the conversation, and I was like, well, it's all the teams that were either in the conversation. I think 3 of the teams were in this match. So there you go, except Public Enemy, but they ain't never going to be in the conversation.
So, Aaron, you want to run down the eliminations? You said you had them written down. I just have the actual final shit written down. So,
the Gangsters eliminated the Gangsta Party.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, and then Ron and Don got eliminated by the Eliminators, and it was actually kind of a cool spot because Don ends up accidentally big booting Ron or Don end up big booting the other one, and that Blue Brother falls back and gets totally eliminated, and
yeah, that was cool, man. That was really cool.
Yeah, that was a good spot. I actually enjoyed that. I was like, oh shit, the Bruise Brothers did something cool. And then obviously at the end of it, the Gangsters end up pinning the Eliminators in the end and winning the ECW tag team titles, and that building lost their fucking minds. Like they were ready for that shit.
Yeah, but there was something else that we had talked about before that never happened. Did you see it, Aaron?
During the match, the Eliminators have a miscommunication. And they get into it after the match, and we discussed that. And again, I don't know with timeline. I don't know if it was just because I think Perry's injury's coming up with his leg, and maybe that put the stall to what they were planning to do with the Eliminators against each other, because I don't think they ever had a match against each other that I can recall.
No, because they never went forward with the angle. They just had them subtle teases, because I guess they had an angle down the road that just never materialized. But yeah, I saw that, and I was kind of hoping that one of you guys would have caught that too. Like, here we go, we're teasing this again.
Kind of glad it didn't happen. Like, there's those tag teams that you think like, that would be cool if they would break up and feud or whatever. I don't know if they would have. I don't know if I would have enjoyed watching them work against each other. I don't know.
But what they could have done, Aaron, that I thought could have possibly worked, was to have them like do a match, and then the Public Enemy could have ran, or not Public Enemy, the Gangsters, somebody could have ran in during the match, and they ended up becoming a team again. You could have went that route with that. They could have,
or even like a brawl. Sorry.
They could have brawled for about 2 to 4 minutes or something like that, got their frustration out, and then had the other team hit the ring and then beat them both down to the point where they came back together, and there we go, problem solved. now we're a team again.
Yeah.
But we never got any of that. But this was all because you said, Nate, because of the Perry Saturn, he's got gout too.
I just assume, and again, like I said, my memory with ECW a lot of times is foggy until we actually get to it, and then my mind goes, oh yeah. But I'm pretty sure he winds up with that injury where he's got to have his whole ass leg in a cast here coming up very soon. Perry Saturn.
Okay. So it was probably something that they had toyed around with the idea of until, I guess deadline came about where they realized that it wasn't going to happen because
I could be completely wrong. The injury could have happened in 1998. I don't fucking remember, but
it didn't happen. Didn't happen in '98. He was.
I was going to say, wait, no way.
WCW. He was in WCW.
Yeah,
I was just being
97.
facetious. I was just being facetious, but so I have no idea why it doesn't play out, but it doesn't play out that the Eliminators break up.
But it's still a cool tease, though.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, because real teams have them problems, like in real life all the time too. If you just wanted to play that card, I mean, you could, because they may have had it down the road that they were going to do a breakup, and then it never materialized. So they just kind of like, wrote it off as like, they were just, because teams that are on the road all the time, they have problems. I'm sure
that's
Ricky
why
didn't like Robert all the time.
That's why, as a team, I think that's one of the reasons. Other than their great wrestling and they're synced up as a team, working together. But I think that's another reason, bringing them up again, that I love Owen Hart and the British Bulldog together, because they're a great team. But it's like the most realistic tag team ever because they're always fucking bickering. Like, they're a great tag team, but like Owen's getting on fucking Bulldog's nerves and I don't know. Do you know what I mean, Aaron? Like, they're just, it's so great because it's like they're together, they're brother-in-laws, they love each other, but god damn it, dude, you annoy the fuck out of me.
And Owen's always trying to boss him, like I'm the boss or whatever. Yeah.
Every time Bulldog like gets his like a beauty shot, and Owen stands in front of him.
Yes,
he's got his arms up in the air like in victory, and Owen ducks underneath his arms and pops up. Yeah, that would just get that's like friends just like ribbing your friend that you think it's just a rib, but your friend is going like, dude, this is pissing me off, man.
Yeah, I just love that team, man. I fucking love them.
Apparently, you brought him up like 3 times on this show already. God damn! Why didn't Paul bring in Owen and Bulldog instead of the Samoan Pajama Party? Because they're still around too.
Well, overall, I have to say, and you guys tell me if I'm being generous or not, I really liked this show, and I gave it an A. Like, there was next to nothing I did not enjoy watching this episode. Except that Eliminators music and my little nitpick about the title defense thing. But overall, this is a fantastic 46 minutes of wrestling show.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, when you open up with Kiss, that's Detroit Rock City right there. And they ended with Rock and Roll All Night, Party Every Day with the Gangsters. Because the Gangsters ended up winning the belts at the end, right?
Yes.
Because I was going to say, they didn't even really, like, you heard Bob Ortiz announce it, but they were going off the air. Like, I don't think Joey even said it, did he? Like, did Joey even have time to
He may have, but it wasn't like a big deal wasn't made of it, I guess I'll say.
No, like I said, you heard Bob Ortiz announce it. But that was about it. So yeah, it was a doozy of an episode, all right. A lot going on. Like, it kept you like, if you were just a casual fan, you're scanning through that channel and you're seeing all this shenanigans going on, you're gonna stick and stay. At least I thought so anyway.
Aaron, what say you?
I mean, I enjoyed it from top to bottom. I thought it was a good show, and nothing was bad. And I mean, everything's progressing, and the Sandman's Raven storyline's progressing. They put an end to the 4-way tag team thing. Tommy wasn't on.
Oh, I was waiting for that because I was waiting for that. No Dreamer.
No Dreamer. Even in the Raven shit, no Dreamer.
I wonder why.
I'm sure this is just a little reprieve. I'm sure we'll get some Tommy Dreamer community theater promos next week.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just odd that there wasn't even
Well, there was no Pulp Fiction. There was no like real promos, like backstage pre-tapes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was just all go, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, and it was probably a good way to keep Dreamer out of that flow.
Yeah,
Like,
you're right. I mean, honestly, the only person that actually cut a promo on this show is Raven. Like, there were no other promos. Now that you mention it, and he cut his promo in the ring. It wasn't a backstage thing; it was in the ring. So definitely,
it kind of reminded me of watching Shark Week when you're watching the great white like attack all these like animals and kill all these people. And then like we were watching ECW, but they would have had like another cheap shark like show up and chase the great right away. You're like, that's Dreamer Shark. You just ruined the whole kill by making a Dreamer Shark.
all right,
I gave it a solid B+, man. Easy.
Dreamer, if Dreamer was a water creature, he'd be a clownfish.
No shit. Why me? Sad clownfish at that.
That's funny. We got to work that in somehow. The Alice in Chains song. Why me? Why me?
The tragic clownfish, Tommy Dreamer.
I'm a man and my life sucks.
Why me?
My whole life is shit.
Put upon.
Yeah. He's a whatever. Next week we're in Japan, by the way.
That's probably why I gave it a high praise of a B, because there was no Dreamer on it. And I saved ink, by the way, on my pen, but not having to write his name down.
But yeah, I saw that too, Aaron, when I was looking at the preview of when it was trying to flip over to the next episode. We're going to, is it Budokan next week?
I can't remember,
Kuroken.
but I know it. Yeah,
Kuroken,
yeah,
yes.
Right.
ECW is not going to the Budokan unless they're buying a ticket as fans. Fuck. We're talking 55,000 people. Could you imagine? Get out of here.
All right. Well,
I would have loved to have seen that. ECW trying to run the Budokan with Tommy Dreamer and Raven.
God damn it, Chad! I knew what I meant.
Yeah. They're gonna go to the egg dome.
Yeah,
they're gonna go to. Next time they come back, they're gonna go to the egg dome.
Yeah.
All right. I gotta pee, so we gotta sign off.
Wembley Stadium.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on Reliving the Extreme. And we'll see you next week as ECW invades the Egg Dome and Budokan Hall in Japan for the tour in 1996. We'll see you next week, everybody.